I'm the scat man. I'm the scat man.
Welcome to Covers' Puck Props. There in the yellow. Carlo's back.
Hi.
Trade deadline. He's here. Presented
I'm
by
here.
Sports Interaction.
What a
Wednesday,
deadline.
Thursday, Friday, 10 o'clock. Good to see the pumpers there in the chat. Pumpers mount up from Bobby Newport. Hit that like button, comment, subscribe, do all that. Darren Folk says, happy birthday. It's done. I abused it as much as I could. And now it's my son's birthday today, so he's going to abuse it as
happy
much.
birthday. What's your son's name?
Raiden.
Raiden. Happy birthday, Raiden.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, we're doing some baseball shopping yesterday. Baseball season is upon us, but playoff push coming. You talked about the trade deadline. It was an absolute, like the things that came in under the wire, like that Carlo trade, massive, massive.
Well, Brad Marchand was the big one.
Yeah. I mean, now they had to have known. Florida would have had to know what happened with Aaron Ekblad, right? Before the suspension.
Well, I mean, in regards to what?
That there was a process that the suspension was looming.
My understanding was that the team was made aware of it over the weekend. And so to think that they did any cap circumvention leading up to the deadline for it, I don't know how much I believe that. I mean, even if they did, how much would it have changed what they've done? They already had the space with Matthew Tkachuk to do anything that any move that they wanted to make, and that's why they made the Marchand deal.
Yeah, no, I wasn't worried about like cap circumvention, more or less like we need to get a Seth Jones type on this roster.
Yeah, but Seth Jones happened 2 weeks ago, right? I mean, it's not like it happened over the weekend.
Yeah. I just don't know how long that process exists before.
That's
right.
Fair.
I'm sure there's an investigation. I'm sure they do their due diligence. So interesting on that side. Hall saying, love it when Covers has a hockey show. One of the best prop shows in the business. Absolutely appreciate that.
Thanks, Hal.
Thanks, guys. I really enjoyed the Avs doing absolutely nothing for me. Here's the thing for the Avs. Fade them when they're on the road and bet them when they're at home. At home, they're an absolute wagon. On the road, just go into Minnesota and do absolutely nothing. The stacks were stacking last night. Again, big one. The late games are hitting, so they're not dead. The unders are going. No way they knew about the Jones trade. That's coming from Nick Perez. Their blue line was an issue from the start of the year, plus Ekblad been booty cheeks mostly. I do enjoy when somebody calls something booty cheeks.
Booty cheeks.
Yeah, that's absolutely booty cheeks. Marner for Rantanen was dangled. Marner didn't apparently waive his no trade clause. That's according to Elliot. John Buchagros was talking to Covers writer Johnny Lazarus, and he said, Lazarus asked him, what jersey do you think Mitch Marner will be wearing at the start of next season, sorry. And he said Chicago Blackhawks. Where do you see that?
I think that's wishful thinking for anybody who's a Blackhawks fan. I know Mitch Marner is sitting on a pedestal right now of being the highest paid player in the league, and I think that excites him. But I think he wants to be the highest paid player in the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't think if he goes to free agency, yes, he's going to have some teams that offer him some outrageous numbers of a deal because teams have to spend and there's been an injection of cap dollars into the system. But I also truly believe that Mitch Marner wants to win as well too. And I don't think that scenario presents itself in Chicago as much as people want to believe. Look, if Marner does leave the Toronto Maple Leafs, there's two places I could absolutely see him going. One of them is the Vegas Golden Knights, because there was speculation this offseason that if the Maple Leafs and Marner were going to create a divorce for themselves, that was a place that he would have likely chose to go to. I think they can be in a position to pay him something close to that, or with the tax savings, something similar to that. And the other team as I look at is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Guess who paid him his last contract?
Yeah.
Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins are preparing themselves to have a big offseason. They've got to keep Sidney Crosby happy. They are stocking up on draft picks. They are trying to create a lot of cap space so that they present this scenario of going out and getting somebody big. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Do I have any insight that that's going to happen? No, I'm just speculating on trying to connect the dots as to who could offer Mitch Marner a significant contract. I think Kyle Dubas would. I think he thinks highly of Mitch Marner during his time here in Toronto. But if you had to ask me or give you a percentage of where I think Mitch Marner plays next year, I'm going to say the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I think that's the betting favorite.
I don't see him leaving. At the end of the day, I actually love this situation that the Maple Leafs and him are in. You know what? Don't worry about the contract. We'll worry about it after the season. Whatever the number is, if we both feel comfortable with it, we'll get it done. But hey, go out and be a superstar for us and lead us to a place we haven't been to. The Florida Panthers aren't shy to take that approach. They did it with Sam Reinhart last year. They're doing it with Sam Bennett this year. Let it all take care of itself when the season's over. Because, hey, guess what? If it ends up bad, then, could be a different discussion here between both parties and say, hey, look, maybe we just want to try something new. If it ends up great, he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid no matter what. If you ask me, I've always said before the season started, it's an easy contract. It's somewhere between William Nylander and Austin Matthews. But that stance has significantly changed because he's the biggest name out in the free agent market. And there's a huge number of cap dollars that have been injected into the system. So
good timing, Mitch.
I think that position of getting paid less than Austin changes in Toronto because he's proven this year at least that he's been a better player than Austin Matthews. So can I see Mitch Marner getting $14 million a year in Toronto? Yes, I absolutely can. Is it something that most Leaf fans will be happy with? No, absolutely not. But that's the cost of doing business.
All right, couple things on that rant. Crosby could beat Gretzky's record for averaging points per game per season, right? Obviously, the Ovechkin chase. Those two will meet game 82 of the season. That would be incredible if both those records were beaten. Crosby with another couple of points last night. And you mentioned Bennett. His head was an absolute punching bag by Zadorov last night. He got filled hard in the final couple seconds of that game. But give Boston a lot of credit. They came back in that game, won in regulation. There's a lot of movement going on in the league, and it's absolutely jam-fest in terms of the playoff race. And we got a 4-pack today. Before we get to the plays, guys are buzzing in the chat. I got to drop your plays too. Hit that like button. Share that stream. This week, this is the week. I want our views. I want our numbers. Hard. This is manager Josh coming out here, going down the bench, saying, all right, Bill, all right, we need this one. Yeah, I don't fire a lot of shots, but this is the week. I want numbers up. We're going to share some winners. Stacks are hitting. Pump it up, pumpers. Let's go. Buffalo, Detroit. Detroit minus 140 home favorites, over under sitting at 6.5. Peterka a little banged up, but it don't matter. We're going Tage Thompson, Josh Norris, little stack, plus 210. It's so funny in hockey, and I bring it up every time, that when new players are put into new positions, they don't immediately get priced into those positions, and it takes so long to come down. Josh Norris for a point is like plus 105, plus 110. He's going to play 19 minutes. PP1 top line.
Wow.
I know it should be, that spot should be around minus 165, right? Like even when Lehkonen was power play 1, this is how I always kind of price it. When Lehkonen was power play 1, played on that top line with Nate, he's about 165-ish. So that's kind of where it is in terms of how you want to price that. Peterka's questionable, lower body injury, didn't practice Tuesday, so it's wait and see what happens with that line. Zeker was maintenance day, so we don't know if he'll jump up, but we can go these two. That's safe. Buffalo's live here as the Detroit offense has gone dormant during its 6-game losing streak, being outscored 23-11 with 3 of those goals coming on the power play. during the losing streak, averaging a league best 35 shots per game. Tons of shots on net. They're running out of ideas what to do. They got a 5.4% shooting percentage. And, I mean, goaltending has been average to worse in terms of Alex Lyon and Cam Talbot. Detroit is plus 850 now to make the playoffs. 12, 4 points out of 8. Take me through that locker room with like 20 games left. It's a vet locker room. 6-game losing streak at the worst possible time. You got players, you got teams above you, teams below you, and you're starting to separate and fall into that Philadelphia world, a Pittsburgh world where you don't want to be. Like, and you're firing the puck too, which is a tough thing. It's like you're doing stuff. It's just not working.
Snake bit is the appropriate term for the Detroit Red Wings, because I watched that game the other night and I couldn't believe they couldn't score on Olmark with all the shots they were generating towards the net. And they couldn't pick a worse time of the year to have a 6-game losing streak, considering going into the break, everything looked so great and so promising for the Detroit Red Wings. Oh, they're going to get back into the playoffs. They're in a playoff spot. And 6-game losing streak. Now they look at a 4-point gap between them and the Columbus Blue Jackets, and a 7-point gap between them and the Ottawa Senators for the first wild card spot. So, look, they have a favorable matchup coming in against the Buffalo Sabres. And you ask what's going on in the dressing room. I think with 18 games left, there's a need to panic because you're losing, but there's also a desperation to get back in the win column, because so much can change the morale and the belief and the confidence in a group just after a win, right? So I think for tonight, I think the conversation in the room is, hey guys, let's just find a way to get a win, get back to that winning feeling, start feeling good about ourselves. And all you can do in this situation for a team that's not in the playoffs, I know there's a lot of scoreboard watching that goes on from night to night. You can't focus on what's going on around you unless you take care of your business yourself. So for Detroit, the bottom line is they've got to find a way to get a win tonight.
Give Buffalo a little credit after, I mean, their Florida trip wasn't terrible after getting beat by, what was it, San Jose badly before they left. And I thought they were just going to wave the white flag. But I don't know, the Norris Cousins trade looks good on both sides. And it's brought up in the chat that Cousins been hitting from Twin Picks. They're in the exact same spot. They're both PP1 guys now, and they're paying big plus money for points. So
aren't those the best trades when it works for both teams, right? You never want to see a winner and a loser in a trade. You always want to see teams acquire players because they believe in their systems. They could either thrive or have the same success. And I think this is a perfect example of one of those trades. Dylan Cousins has a lot of promise, a lot of potential, hasn't been able to unlock that in Buffalo, gets to Ottawa, and in a short span so far has looked like he's another cast off of the Buffalo Sabres that's going to turn into a superstar somewhere else. I mean, like, it's crazy the people that leave
getting
Buffalo.
out of Buffalo.
Yeah. So, and then Norris, look, he's a great player with great potential. The knock on him has always been health. So if he can stay healthy, could he be that guy that finds great chemistry with Tage Thompson? Buffalo sure hope so. And so far, it's looked good.
Buffalo has best first period goal differential. That's from Nick Porto. This game is setting up for maybe targets for Detroit shooting. I kind of stay away from the shots on goal market, but as I said, they're averaging 35 shots per game during the losing streak. They're still going to continue to shoot, but Buffalo could be leading in this game. I think they're live at plus 120, which would make Detroit have to chase. And Buffalo's not a team that continues to push the offense when they're up. So the ice could tilt, could see some shots. It's usually the way it goes. Zadorov right hand on Bennett was nuts. Almost a KO. Yeah, it was some filthy knuckles there. What goes through the locker room? Check. Panic time, but take care of your business. 6 games. That's coming from Carlo. Let's go. Vancouver, Calgary. Calgary minus 150 seems too long too. Like Calgary, I'm confident in Calgary win with Artur Salovs probably in net here. Vancouver team total under 2.5 is how I'm betting at minus 110. I think this is good to minus 125. Lankinen was in net last night, 4-2 loss to Montreal, so Salovs is probably in net. 1-7 straight up on the year. He just got recalled on Sunday. 858 save percentage, ranks 87th of 94 goalies in goals saved above expected. Calgary, likely to play with that lead. Vancouver has not scored more than 3 goals since January 27th, 15 straight games. That's an ugly little run there. Vancouver, 1-6 straight up on second of a back-to-back this year. They're 5th in 12 days. They're 3rd in 4. Hughes, doubtful. Hronek still running the point. There's a lot to like about Calgary, who is a dead under team. 1-8-1 to the under, last 10. 2-12 and 2 to the under, and 22-40 on the year. I like Coronado for a point at plus 110. Kadri, Huberdeau, Coronado stacks plus 320. There's a lot there. I really like Calgary tonight, but I think a lot of it has to do with Vancouver team total under. Just an offense that couldn't get done yesterday. Calgary.
Well, it's the Quinn Hughes factor, right? I mean, the guy's not in the lineup, right? And Elias Pettersson, I know he scored last night, but he's having a hard time carrying that team. And
Besser's not stepping up his game, and like now,
I think Besser's pissed he didn't get traded.
That's a good point. It's like most of the guys like, you didn't get traded. I can keep my family here. No, this one's a little stubborn that he didn't get to leave Vancouver, who's just kind of slowly falling. They're slowly falling. Calgary, but this game is, looking at the standings, this game is pretty intense. Calgary sitting 8th, 70 points, 63 games. Vancouver 9th, 1 point fewer, 64 games. What kind of intensity can you expect from Calgary, who has the rest advantage, but from Vancouver, who was at home and now has to go to Calgary and then has to go home for 4 games?
Yikes. Tough schedule. Talk about intensity. Look, I think you're going to see a playoff style intensity in this game, regardless of how teams feel coming into this. This is a playoff matchup scenario right now. Calgary holding the last playoff spot at 70 points, Vancouver at 69. I don't think Vancouver can afford to lose this game with a game in hand, with a game.
What's the opposite of a game in hand? A game not in hand? Yeah.
Game not in hand, yeah. That's what I was going to say. I'm trying to think of what is the proper way. They hold an extra game on the Calgary Flames. If they lose this game, it's 3 points plus an extra game. You're kind of taking yourself out of the race here. So I expect this to be a contested matchup, a highly contested matchup, in very intense, because there's a lot on the line between these two teams.
Yeah, I like it. Calgary playing with that lead can absolutely slow down that Vancouver offense. That is listless. Anaheim, Utah, minus 270 for the hockey club. That is a big price. You can say the back-to-back is certainly priced in here, over-under at 6. It's Anaheim. We're just going to go Sergachev assist at plus money. Anaheim second of a back-to-back after that 7-4 loss to Washington. Dostal in net, who has played 10 of 11 games, but it should be a Gibson start. He's over that injury, but interesting to see how over that injury is. Utah is in a playoff push. They're only 3 points out of 8.
Yep.
They're 11th in the league in point percentage since February. Like I said, 3 points out of the playoff spot, paying plus 400 to make playoffs. Second youngest team in the league. Is there any advantage to being that young and stupid to not know and just ignorant to know like what it is, right? You always hear the vets talk about it like, oh, you only get so many chances. But how were you when you were that young, just kind of soaking up playoff experience where you just kind of, you were taking it for granted?
Well, look, young or old, you play the game to be part of playoff hockey, right? That's the best time of the year to play in. Your adrenaline's flowing through the roof. The intensity is, the way you expect to compete, or at least the way you drive yourself to compete. And, everyone plays to win, right? And that's the best time of the year to play. So young or old, I don't think it matters. The fact that, Utah's in a position right now. I watched the game the other night because they played the Leafs, and I couldn't believe how fast this team played. And for a bunch of good young players, I was actually really confused as to why Utah was one of the teams at the trade deadline that did nothing. I mean, this is an organization that for the last decade, playing as the Arizona Coyotes, were one of the laughing stocks of the league. And every deadline, all they would do is acquire LTIR contracts. Now you've got stable ownership. You've got a fresh place to play. Your team's playing good. They've grinded their way through a lot of adversity this year with injuries and new schedule and new place. And they did nothing. They did nothing to help the team. But then you watch the team play the other night, and maybe there's a reason why they did nothing. It's because they want to give all these players that have invested in this season the opportunity to be a part of this playoff chase. So if Utah can play that type of game that they played against the Maple Leafs last night, I like their chances tonight, and I like their chances to bring it right down to the wire for a playoff spot.
Love it. Sergachev for an assist. Playing big minutes now that the games mean even more, up to like 26 minutes. The guy plays absolutely like 26, 27 minutes last 2 games. Impressive. Keller Schmaltz, even money stack. Guenther Hayton, plus 140. Sneaky one on the Anaheim side. Trevor Zegras and Leo Carlson for a point at plus 350 hit last night as well. Someone asking, is it Wolf today? Not sure. Probably. They last played on the 8th, so Calgary has
Wolf.
Yeah, that's such a rest advantage right now for Calgary. Wouldn't be surprised if minus 150 got a little shorter later in the day. Last one, Montreal, Seattle. Minus 150, Seattle here, over under sitting at 6.
Slide in hockey right now.
It's funny, right? Like Dylan Larkin's price, Raymond Larkin one's priced like that because that team is top heavy. This team is extremely top heavy, but they never play as much as a favorite as Detroit does. The best top line to target, add Slav to it, plus 220. It's hitting 5 of 8 since the break for over 8 units. It's been impressive. Probably a Dabish start. It is a Dabish start, so maybe more scoring in this game. We'll see. Seattle, first home game without Bjorkstrand, Tanev, Gord. Things are kind of falling over. 7 games. They've allowed 28 goals over those last 7 games. Joey Decord kind of finally falling off a cliff. 4.33 goals against, 852 save in his last 5 games. He's 1-4. So this is just the stack that I like. Patrick Laine makes it even better because he's battling that illness, and they don't even have that second line. Yeah. Not that second line with Alex Newhook was a lot to lean on, but it was something.
There's no Kirby Dach on that second line either, right? So not having Laine hurts even more.
100%. I'm just looking at JTL. Sounds like Caulfield Suzuki due to go under. I wouldn't bet on it tonight. Maybe off this game. Dear Lane Hudson. I think that's where I am on this. I was also looking at Montour for an assist. It was listed as PP1, but I looked at the log. He's actually playing on PP2. PP1's getting about 55% of the time, but they get the offensive zone start at the beginning, which is big. Vince Dunn on that. That's it. That's the card. I'll put out the stacks later today for sure, but we're going to go Thompson and Norris for a point, plus 210. Vancouver team total under 2.5, minus 110. You can put Pettersson and Besser together, I think, and I think that's plus 180 for the stack under. Sergachev for an assist, plus 105, and then the Montreal stack, Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, plus 220 each to get a point. And like I said, pumpers, big day, volume-wise. Get those views up, share it. That's the goal today. Going down the list.
Love it.
Yeah, you referenced that soccer clip, right? Just going down the line, slapping everybody in the face. Oh, what a clip. That's your job. We'll do our job hopefully today. That's what I need from you guys. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Carlo Colaiacovo. This is NHL Puck Props presented by Sports Interaction. Back here tomorrow, 10 a.m. Lead us out, pal.
Ciao, folks. Let's win some money tonight.